So good morning. Very pleased to welcome all of you. Thanks for being here. We are very honored to have the Chief Information Officer for the City and County of Honolulu, Gordon Bruce, here with us today. Here in Honolulu, Gordon has brought some very visionary ideas to an older city and county infrastructure. And we'll be delighted to hear from him and what he's doing to bring the city and county up to speed. Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everybody. Oh, an applause beforehand. That's scary. Anyway, let me take this commercial out of the way, since I heard this is being recorded. So I'll black it out. Anyway, we can keep this interactive, so feel free to stop me at any time as I go through this technology report after being with the city a total of 1 year, almost to the day. So bear with me a minute. Some of you have heard this story, but I like the way I tell it, so I'm going to tell it again. So this is how I got this job in government. For those of you that have known me in the community, the last person you would ever think you would see in government would be me. My mantra was the separation of tech and state. I thought there was no way the two should ever be together. And when I got to the city of Honolulu, I realized that was true. I was coached by someone to interview with the mayor for this position, but only to get a consulting job, not to get a real job. I wanted to go in there and try and get some consulting work. And so he had a recruitment team out there looking for a CIO, so I went in and told them all the wonderful things I could do under contract. And shortly thereafter, I got called to have an interview with the mayor, and I thought, for sure, I'm in. I've got contracts to keep me going until the day I retire. Had an interview with him. I did not know the man. So I did not know the man. I did not vote for the man, and he knew it, which is an even more interesting story. And lo and behold, to get even, he called me one day and said, "Would you like to be the CIO for the City and County of Honolulu?" I was standing on the street when he made me this offer, talking on a mobile phone. I said to him, "How long do I have to make this decision?" I didn't know what it paid, which I subsequently found out was not a hell of a lot. I didn't know what it paid. I didn't know much more about what the benefits were, if there were any benefits, those kinds of things. Heck, I don't even get parking. I got to pay for parking. I mean, there's not much going with it. So I said to him, "How long do I get to make my choice?" He said, "Till you hang up the phone." So I stood there and said, "Okay, I'll take the job." He said, "Great, we have a press conference tomorrow at 2, be there." And that was it. And so next you know, I'm now working for the City and County of Honolulu as their new CIO. And this guy is an incredible guy, very sports-minded, so driven like crazy. His integrity is beyond reproach, and that's one of the reasons why I stayed there. I guaranteed him that I would give him as long as he wanted me, around 4 years. I also told him I know nothing about politics, and that when it came to the political side, I would probably get in trouble, which I have done. But he's managed to bail me out many a time. So just to give you a sense, this is the administration's principles, what we're committed to, our mantra, if you will, fiscal accountability and integrity. Providing essential public service in an efficient way, honest, open relationship. We will talk to anybody. They can come and look at anything. As a matter of fact, one of the things I just had completed and will be made public in about a month, I had an audit done of the Information Technology Department, and it came and it nailed us pretty good. And but my point to the staff was, do not get defensive on this. This is an opportunity to help justify us getting the funding and whatever's necessary to take it to the next level. So, and we're going to make that public. We're not going to hide it and do any of those kinds of things. It was done by the City Council's audit committee, so within the elected branch, they came in and did it. So it's not an administrative; it's kind of like the semi-outside looking inside. Yes, actually, the key contact person in the group was a IT background, had a master's in information technology. So, great question. Yeah, usually you get someone coming in from a Big 8 firm, and it's someone who just graduated from high school. Anyway, I should be fair. Anyways, I told you I'm not political. That's why I get in trouble. Looking at different ways to create solutions and challenges, enhancing the quality of life of people around here, and serving the people in the city. with pride in the spirit. So what I'll do is I'll talk about government technology, what we've uncovered over the past year, and about a new program that the city's gotten itself involved in. It's Honolulu as an incubator. We go out and solicit, and I'll give you an example of one case where we will agree to be an incubator of new product, the city and county itself. So you get the government involved in doing those kinds of things. Independent study. When I first moved in to the position, had volunteers from the outside came in and did an independent study, said that the IT department had been underfunded by minimally $100 million in the previous 5 years. And going beyond that, it was amazing. Infrastructure was outdated. The systems and applications were old and disparate. And I'll give you a sense for this. If you look to the left of this chart, these are systems that are the far left side. These are systems that are more than 30 years old. The next one is 20 to 30 years old. So you can see the significant majority of the significant systems that are running in the city and county of Honolulu are over 20 years old. They're running on IBM mainframes that are no longer manufactured. They're written in assembler and COBOL. Assembler and COBOL programmers are more important to me right now than Java programmers. And the universities are cranking out tons of those guys. Just find it. I got one assembler programmer, and the guy's 35. He's self-taught. I may have to go back to coding again. This is going to be pretty. And then you've got 10 to 20 years old. If you get to the middle, takes you into the next range. So it gives you a sense for. And we're talking the major applications for the city. The core financial system is 27 years old. The personnel system, human resource system, is 25 years old. We run the Department of Motor Vehicle System for the state of Hawaii, which is unique. It's usually a state function. So we run driver's licensing and motor vehicles. Our claim to fame, we just finished a study, we have the oldest DMV in the country. There is no one comes close to us. 35 years old, 36 now. It's pretty amazing. So I still run, when I went in there, we were running 50 DOS applications. We still had DOS applications up and running. We're down to about 6 now. I had PS2 Model 50s as servers. So for those of you that can, so we're talking back in some pretty interesting technologies. Hardware, I've given you a sense for that. That's really kind of where it's been at. This, by the way, if you haven't seen this picture before, this is Remington Rand's concept of what the home computer was going to look like in the year 2000. So pretty amazing. The steering wheel is what's really got me thrown off. I'm really not quite sure. Someone told me, well, it's the mouse. I said, oh, of course. And then someone else said, what about the cost of an ink cartridge for that printer? I said, oh, yeah, it's got to be off the scale. Anyway, so it's kind of an interesting. But we've got some pretty interesting stuff down there. It looks just like this. Agencies that we support. What are who are our customers beyond the people that live in Hawaii? Budget and finance, obviously, it's like any other organization. And environmental services. So we've all the sewer treatment plants, wastewater processing, all of the garbage disposal and pickup, the landfills, all of that, we support all of those. Customer service, which is driver's license, motor vehicle, dog licensing, bicycle licensing. Those are old systems too. Go down all of those kinds of things. Police department, we support all of the 800 megahertz radio system was turned over to the Department of Information Technology about a year ago. So we now are responsible for all of that 800 megahertz system, which I'll talk a little bit further on as we get into it. Now that's a 65-year-old piece of technology, just to give you. Now with us, it's only 10 years old, but it's only worked for the past 2. So it's kind of an interesting concept. Permits and planning, or planning and permitting, that's all of those guys. GIS information systems, the permit processing, all of that. Facilities management, well, that's all of the buildings. We have 700 facilities in the city and county of Honolulu. We're the 13th largest city in the country. Not that many people realize that. We're the 13th largest city in this country. So we have all the buildings, all the facilities, all the roads that the city owns, the light poles that we own, the traffic signals, all of those kinds of things. The whole island is the city of Honolulu. So it's a pretty massive place. Fire department, we support them. We support emergency services, the city clerk's office. So that's all the council meetings, all of the agendas, all of the things that relate to you coming down and giving testimony and telling the city council that I need more money. I mean, all those things that you come down and do is supported by us. The managing director's office. It just goes on and on and on and on. So these enterprise services, that's another one. We still report all the golf courses that the city owns, the Blaisdell Center, Concert Hall, the zoo. So we have a real vast array of customer types. So all different kinds of businesses that we're running within the city. This is just to give you a picture of what our ERP solution will look like when we start it. Now, when we say we start that, last year we floated the RFP. We got approval from council for the first, after 5 years of trying, the council approved us going and floating an RFP to start rebuilding from the ground up. Well, we've got to do core financials first. That's the thing we've got to do. This is a $50 million project when it starts from the beginning to end. 50 could go to 75. So this is just getting this piece in. This gets financials and human resources. But to give you a sense for this, the center part here, you look at general ledger over here, and then payroll up here. These are all the systems on this one of 9 pages that will get touched the moment we replace the financial system. So, and those subsequent systems are 10, 15, 20, 30 years old. So it's like a house of cards, right? The moment we touch this piece, we've got this rippling effect that's gonna happen. So we floated this RFP. We're in the final process of making the decision. We'll announce that decision in March of this year, and then we'll move forward. Aggressive schedule. We plan on bringing up the financial system, the core underlying financial system, in July of '07. That's 1 year. Government doesn't do that. I mean, it's just not what we're typically. But I'm hanging my hat that the team we put together are going to do that. Government has a success rate of 1 in 9 in implementing RPs, so that we're putting up against it. And so that's our first piece. This is DMV, and again, this is one of 9 pages. So there's 9 other pages that trickle down from this. This is DMV, same situation. We pick driver's licensing or we pick motor vehicles. We touch this. These are all the things that start getting impacted as we move down the line.
Which vendor's payroll application?
Unfortunately, because of procurement, I can't tell you. So, but I will in March. So, procurement law in the state of Hawaii is very highly managed. So to keep it on the up and up in the level. So you got to keep these things all under your hat.
Do you have source code to all of it, or some sort of escrow or something?
Yeah. Well, if it was written by us, we have the source code. In some cases, the vendors are no longer around, so we may or may not have the code. So that's part of the dilemma. We're just finishing rewriting, and I came in there. It was the end of a 4-year project, so I didn't want to stop it. They just finished rewriting the payroll system from a vendor's 2nd-generation language in COBOL and assembler, and rewrote the whole thing exactly as delivered by the vendor. And they spent 4 years doing that, but we're too far into it to stop it. And so it's just one of those things. In-house staff are doing it, and we're turning that system on this year.
Did I hear you say you're rewriting it in COBOL?
They rewrote it in COBOL and assembler, yes.
That makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So that makes a lot. And they started that project almost 4 years ago now. But too far into it when I came on board to stop it, because the other system was collapsing. And
The guys who were writing it were on crutches, right?
well, let's put it this way: they're my age. And they could retire tomorrow, which again, I go to the university and say, I need some more COBOL programmers, and they say, sure, we're cranking up 3 or 4 of those tomorrow. So this is it's kind of an interesting situation. I won't talk about today, but all of the projects that I did cancel within the first quarter of being on there, millions of dollars worth of projects that just were killed. Some of the big questions that come up too is like, can we use open source, for our service level oriented architecture? All those layers that I've got to, touch after we touch ERP, what am I going to use? Am I going to use open source in there? Can I use WebSphere? Can I use Novell, some of Novell's products we've looked at? So there's all kinds of options that we're looking at. We were a closed shop. The previous administration would not allow anything in there except Microsoft. We rewrote an application that was a Java-based application. We rewrote it in Microsoft SQL Server.net for the vendor. Now the vendor has 2 products, and we paid them for it. So those are the kinds of mindsets that were there. So but that's subsequently changed. Now, I tell you, the moment I mentioned open source, that trickled all the way to city council, and even came up during my confirmation hearing. Where one of the persons said to me, "What's this Linus stuff you're going to be putting in?" I mean, that gives you a sense of their technology acumen. But I had to explain to them, hey, we have to look at all kinds of options. It's the application, it's the underlying infrastructure. We have to look at the best and fastest and cost-effective way to get this stuff in. You know, one of the questions is it cheaper? Everybody, you know, not everybody, but a number of people say, hey, it's cheaper to go this route. Well, there's this learning curve in the beginning. I've got a whole bunch of people that are anti-open source within my department because they were essentially driven to think that that was not the way to go. So I've got to get these people converted and get them trained and get them educated. I offered free training to anyone who can go take any Java course, anything they wanted to take on open source. 138 employees, 0 signed up. So it gives you a sense for the kinds of things. And it's not their fault. They have been so, this is the first change in administration at the City and County of Honolulu in 20 years. It's been the same administration. So for them, they're a little gun shy and they're a little, you know, they're not sure they can trust people yet. So you got, you know, and again, this is the standard line. There's the A team and the B team, okay? And I had meetings with all the staff and they said, hey, you came in here, you're part of the A team. And I thought they were being kind of like, you know, like, don't put me in this pedestal. I've been in this business 30 years. I mean, I started as an operator, worked the midnight shifts, did all that stuff. I'm not that. They said, no, so you don't understand. A team, you're the A team, we're the B team. We be here now and we be here when your ass is gone. So, so okay, got it, I understand. Because, you know, we're appointed officials and we could be gone at the whim of the mayor or if he doesn't get reelected or decides not to reelect or so on. And then, you know, we got frontline versus infrastructure and a whole bunch of things that we're looking at in that side. So, so where do you start? So what do you do? You know, where do we start? So these are the things. We got the mayor's directive on technology. We got that. We revised that and reissued that last year. It's being my mantra is you revise it every year and you follow it. The new version of that's coming out is just going down to the mayor's office for signature. The revised strategic plan for this year is just going down to the mayor for signature. We set up an IT governance board to determine priority of projects. The mechanism that was used in the past was the decibel method. He who screamed loudest got it. And plus the police carried guns, so they tended to get a little bit more, you know, a little bit more attention. So, you know, those were the kinds of things that was there. An application inventory. That's that diagram. What are all the applications that we've got out there and who touches what? And get all of that in there. Infrastructure inventory. You know, drawings, diagrams, whatever we could possibly put together. We're doing a massive infrastructure change. And just to give you a sense of it is that our infrastructure for the entire city and county, which is all of Oahu, and we have a fabulous fiber backbone throughout the city, along with an 800 megahertz radio system backbone and so on. On the fiber backbone stuff, though, the technology that we were using at the ends was just antiquated. And we're going from like a four racks to 15 racks to support it the way it should be, with redundancy and backup and all of those kinds of things. So, and the people are doing a phenomenal job. Vendor, when we went through the bidding process and selection process, the winner of the hardware side was Cisco. The vendor that we buy the hardware from is Hawaiian Telecom. And then we use an outside third party, Envision Hawaii, to help us with the installation. They told us, you know, this is going to take you, 6 months to do this. My guys did it in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. They did the first phase. They worked. I said, I'll bring guys in to help. You know, I'll come in the weekends, whatever we can do. I'll splice fiber if we need to splice fiber. They did 700 pairs of fiber in a day. I mean, and it was just like 5 people. And so they've got the skill sets, and if you give them the go, they'll do it. And they called me and said, Gordon, we need to go buy such and such. Okay, go buy it. Well, what about just go buy it? We've got the money in the budget. I'll worry about getting it paid for down the line. Don't you go. No, they went. They went and just got the stuff and brought it in and took care of it. So, so we now have an IT governance process in place, which is made up of the directors of all of the departments, the agencies, and 5 volunteers from the outside, independent business people. I have a meeting with them today, as a matter of fact, to go over our priorities for next year. Enter into business partnerships, and we've done a number of those going on. Look into ways to motivate the staff, and that's a big challenge. You know, how do you get these people motivated and incentivized and so on? And then the whole budget things. And we're looking at budget in a whole different way. We got operating budgets, CIP budgets. I've moved stuff around. They had stuff in capital budget that had no right being in there. It needed to be an operating budget. So now we're moving stuff where it's supposed to be. We're going for grant money. We never went for grant money. We were going now for grant money, looking at ways to get grants. And then we're doing some applications, unique ones, benefits-based with the vendor, where the vendor doesn't get paid until the application's in and they get a piece of the transaction. So they're motivated to get it in on time. They watch for scope creep because it doesn't benefit them. They got to get the thing delivered. So those are new ways that we're looking at doing things. I've got an hour and I could go on for days, so I just got to be careful and watch my time. Some of the challenges we have is, they're silos. All these agencies are silos. The good thing is we have a centralized Department of Information Technology within the city and county of Honolulu, which is different from the state where everybody has their own DIT department. So at least that's the good news. But the other part is that every one of these silo agencies run on their own, independent from one another. And so we've got to start looking at process versus function and how we can bring those pieces together. And plus, you know, we're always open, right? Government's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You guys never have to worry about, you know, going and giving up any of your work time to going down and stand in line for 2 hours. I mean, at all, right? So that's part of the dilemma as well. How can we you know, give the impression, or more than the impression, be open more? And obviously that's more online and less inline. And so we did a number of initiatives on that. And I'll show you some of the things that this staff cranked out this past year. Almost 50 major projects this year. They've never had a success rate like that. Have 100. You know what? It took me 6 months to figure that out, and the only way I could do it was get a photograph of everybody and put it up on the wall. It's true. It's true. 138, because we had employees, and then we had contractors, and then we had contract programmers or contract staff, and then we had funded contract staff that were funded either by the state or some other agency. But now, and as of the end of this fiscal year, which is June, I will have 4 contractors, and they will just be funded by the outside. No other contract programmers. Know exactly how many bodies I have, and I will have 0 vacancies, funded or unfunded. So none of the shell game of hiding the bodies, you know, the body count stuff, so you couldn't answer. So now when council asks me that question in my public hearing, I say, great, I have 138, and here's their photo. So, you know, and then we, you know, innovation and delivery and execution of services, you know, start people thinking outside of just, you know, what we've done in the past. Come up with ideas. Give me some ideas on how to solve things. And they've started to do that, which it took a while. And we'll go into a meeting and say, well, how are we going to fix this? And nothing. It was just like stone cold silence. But then you had to get them to come up with an idea. And I'll give you a great example. I came in there. One of the systems that we support, which was turned over to us, were the phone systems. And when it was turned over to us, we are also responsible for keeping 911 current. So when you dial 911, when the phone, when they get it, they know you're calling from your address, right? Not mobile phone. We're working on E911, by the way, but right now, 911. Well, that database had not been updated in 2 years and had over 40,000 errors in it on top of that. Now, this is public safety, okay? And I said, well, how can you live? How can you sleep at night? Well, you know, when they turned the phone system and all that responsibility over to us, they didn't give us the body that maintained it. I said, well, you had they had a full-time person just keeping this current? Yeah. And then one of my new staff, 22-year-old female, who just came in, and she said, you know, I think I could write an application with our new Cisco voice over IP system that we've just put in DIT that will allow me to bridge these 2 pieces together. Really? Okay, go ahead, do it. 5 days later, she's come back. It's written, finished, done, ready. We send electronic file now to the phone company. They update their database. 3 years, 2.5 years, well, people sitting around not doing it because the way they had done it before was with a body. And she fixed this thing. And not only that, she automated it so well that Hawaiian Telecom's having to catch up to us. So, but there was kind of a neat kind of thing, right? Neat kind of thing that she was able to do. It started opening up the gates, right? Well, Mary Jen can do this. I've got an idea. I've got an idea. I've got an idea. So they've started to trickle in. So we looked at program highlights in 2006, 2007. We looked at things required by federal law. We had a lot of DMV. We were the first city in the country to come up with a new federally mandated driver's license. We went in there. I said, let's get it done. Yank out what we got to do this. We partnered with a vendor. The vendor gets a piece of every driver's license card that we issue. That's how they get paid. So benefits-based process. Do you think they took them long to get that system up and running? Heck no. And they built the interfaces to the old DMV system just so that we could have it running. So, that's public safety, 800 megahertz. 800 megahertz radio, it's the technology of the world. Everybody uses it. Police, fire, well, in our case, now fire. They didn't until this year. So 911, one of the reasons the fire guys got trapped in the building, because they used a different radio system than the police. Police couldn't tell them to get out. They couldn't communicate to each other. No interoperability. Katrina, you saw it. The antennas went down, police radios, done. History, no communication. That is the world of communication. We're going to replace that. But this year, we still have to use it. We have 7,000 radios that we have to support. Almost, well, it's getting more than that now, but over 7,000 radios we have to support. Just this year, we brought fire up on 800 megahertz. Now police and fire can talk to each other. It's like, it doesn't sound like a big deal. It's a big deal. Now, the police and the fire can hear each other's radios. They can hear who's going to what. But here's the dilemma, is that in order to make all this stuff work in an emergency, you create these things called talk groups, and they're mechanical. They're not software-driven or anything like that. So we have 400 different talk groups. And so if it's an incident XYZ, then, oh, that's talk group 306. I mean, you have to know this stuff. Now, who remembers that? But that's the way of the world. That's all, a lot of that stuff's got to change. E-government solutions, looking at that. E911, I was appointed by the governor to sit on the E911 commission here for the state, and that's the one that will allow us to start tracking your mobile phones when you dial 911. We brought Maui up on Nextel just last quarter of last year. So they now have the capability, at least from the Nextel standpoint. We're going to start working on Oahu this year. So that's going to be an interesting, we have within the city, we have 3 different dispatch 911 centers, and with the entire island, we have 5, because you got the military. So it's an interesting, we got to bring all those together. The steering committee, network and infrastructure, ERP to name a few.
What is 311?
311 is, you know, those non-emergency type calls. There's a cat in a tree. Right now they call 911. So we're going to be setting up a 311. We've just started that. We're going to the state for federal monies to do that. That's an expensive undertaking. A 311 system costs more to run than build. Because you start becoming, it's your one call center, right? Everything comes into there. So you call about your property tax, you call about your permits, you call about cat in a tree, you call about your garbage pickup, all of that stuff. And so the training is pretty amazing. I toured the 311 center, and they have 2 of them in New York. And they just implemented them a couple of years ago. I can't remember the number, but I think he said it cost him $35 million to get one center up and running. It costs him almost $40 million a year to run it. Now that's New York. But still, they have 350 people. It's 24/7. So, but those are the kinds of things that, you know, that we should be doing as government, providing. Oh yeah, you get the trickle down, and you get departments, instead of people doing this, they can be doing the other kinds of jobs. Fiscal year 05, we went in for $25 million. Fiscal year 6 through 8, I'm going to be asking for almost over $100 million. 9 through 12 is going to need another $100 million. Operating CIP, yeah, I talked about all those kinds of things. So those are the kinds of money we're going in for. Oh, just to give you a sense of, now, the city and county of Honolulu, our debt service, the previous administration left us a debt service that equals that's just the interest on our debt, equals our entire operating budget. It's huge. So, and we have, and our total rainy day fund was 0. They raided the sewer fund, it was 0. There was money set aside for the sewer fund, $400 some odd million, empty, blank, not a dime. There was money being, and that was money that was taken out of your sewer dollars, raided it, gone. There was money that came out of your driver's license fees to rebuild that system, 0. There's no money left in it, it's all gone. They just raided those funds and just took them all away. And so we've inherited all this wonderful stuff.
Isn't there a windfall from the real estate prices going through the...
It is. For us, it's like, well, because it's our only source of revenue. You know, we run this DMV and driver's licensing, but all the ticket money and everything goes to the state. We don't get a dime. Which I also found out that we've been paying, the state's been reimbursing us for this system based on a contract that was written in 1991. Do you think I'm in there looking at revising that puppy? You bet. So I mean, so yes, there is, but we're not going to. Yeah, we're going to. The mayor wants to give back 40 million of it. He wants us to come up with a mechanism to do that. Instead of putting $25 million into the rainy day fund or 50 million, we're going to start with 25 and build it over the years. So, but there is some money's coming in, definitely coming in on that side. Some things that were accomplished in 2005. This is the mantra: more online and less in line. This is to get people, instead of you coming in and having to stand in line and look at things. The first one we did, which was kind of like, you know, the pothole hotline. And you think, now what the heck is that? Well, the roads hadn't been touched in years here. They were like just brutal. And the mayor says, I'm going to declare a war on potholes. And he said to us in the IT department, can you guys help us with some kind of mechanism, solution to do this? Again, get the right staff together and they start thinking about it. When I came into the office in DIT, I had 2 phones on my desk. an IP solution and an analog phone. Everybody had 2 phones on their desk. I said, what's this? Oh, we're testing this IP solution. Oh, good. How long have you been testing? Oh, this is our 3rd year. I unplugged the analog phone. I went outside and I went, a month. I want everybody on IP. We don't have the infrastructure. I want everybody on IP. So they went and they did it. They took care of it. So now everybody's up. The infrastructure is getting better. We're building a new fire headquarters. They're coming up on it. So we had this. Now we also run Exchange and Outlook and Exchange. We have 8 Exchange servers and we're running that. So what we did was we came up with an integrated messaging solution. You call the pothole hotline, or you go to the web, whatever you want to do. If you call the pothole hotline, you leave a voice message. This is Gordon. There's a pothole at the corner of King and Young Street. That gets turned into a voice email message that gets sent to the roads crew. And then they allocate them out by district. So they send the crews out now with this whole list of things to do. And we're writing an interface, and it's almost finished, using the Outlook database to do all the reporting. So our counts on pothole repairs have just gone way up. And the mayor said, and I don't care if it's a state road that there's right next to a state road, because here in Hawaii, in Honolulu, the roads change, like within blocks sometimes. He said, just fix it. Just fix the pothole. So you may call about 1 on the corner. If there's 1 on the other side of the road, go fix it. So this is one that came up, and it's very, very cool. When he announced it to the press were more excited about the technology than they were about us fixing the potholes. Yeah, but so, and then Sprint said, hey, I tell you what, we've set up a *77 on our Sprint. If you dial *77 on your Sprint phone, you get the pothole hotline. So a vendor just came in and said, hey, we'll do this. And then we have it on the web, and you can do that kind of thing. But now other things you can do, you can book your driver's test online. You just have to go in at 2 in the morning to book your test, because you probably wouldn't be able to take it. And your test would be available maybe 3 months down the road. But you had to go in at 2 in the morning and wait in line. And maybe you'd get to take it. And if you didn't, then you could book the appointment. We did that all online. And what it proved, though, it said when we started looking at the numbers, now if you go to book it now online now, we're booked out past March. But we do have empty slots. So you can go down and wait in line if you want to do that. But what it's done, what it proved, enabled us to show that we don't have enough examiners. So we hired 6 more examiners. So at least that it was able to show, hey, this is what we've got to do. You can now, online motor vehicle registration, you can do that online. The title inquiries, you can do those online. The dealers used to have to go down and stand in line, and they stand in line with a stack like this, right? And so they'd go up to a thing, and you'd be waiting while this dealer took care of 70 permits. They can do it all online now. So that gets them out of the line. Vanity plate, you can order it online now. You can check to see if it's available. You just have to go stand in line. All these kinds of things. The police department can do their health exam. Social Security verification. This is when you go in to get your driver's license, we have to check all over the country, right, to make sure that you don't have outstanding criminal warrants and a whole bunch of things, and whether you're a terrorist and all those kinds of things. And it was real tough. Now they can do it. They can actually check it online while you're there. So all this kind of stuff that makes it so much easier. We got the neighborhood warrants. We put every form that you need to fill out for the city and county of Honolulu is now online. Now that's maybe doesn't sound that great, but you know what? It's better than having to go down and pick up the form. And my prime example is disabled. If you want to get your disabled placard for your vehicle, you had to, this is the past, go down, no, I'm disabled. Go down, stand in line to get the form. Now I take the form back to my doctor. The doctor fills out the form, then come back in and stand in line to get the placard. Now what you can do is just go to the doctor can print it off, you can print it off, fill it out. Now you still have to go in, but we're going to change that if I have my way, so you don't have to come in. But at least we've eliminated 2 steps in the process. And a whole number of things. The other thing is we built this application now where the mayor and the managing director and the like can track every capital project that the city's working on. You want to know where it is, on budget, within schedules, whatever, it's there. It seems like so highly intuitive, right? Like you want to know. But now they know if anything's starting to look like it's going to go overruns, or they know right way before it happens. Those kinds of things. More accomplishments in 2005. Yes?
What was DART?
Oh, the city DART. Okay, the city DART system is, if you imagine how many emails the mayor must get, or calls, right, from the constituency. So what happens now is it comes in, it gets logged into this system called DART. And so it says, John Smith called from so-and-so. He's concerned about X. It then gets said, okay, that's really a Parks Department problem. That now gets assigned to the Director of Parks and gets tracked. He's got so much time, or I've got so much time if it gets assigned to me, in which we have to get back with a response. So now all of those things sit. In every cabinet meeting, the mayor comes out with the list. You've got 21 outstanding. You've got this, you've got this. I want these things addressed. So that's his thing.
Question in terms of the online services, web services. Have you had any standards around document formats and or support for multiple web browsers?
No, not yet. That's again in the works. We're revamping the website as we speak, but and even that revamp doesn't take care of that issue. We have standardized, however, on an electronic document management process, and we're going to use DocuShare, which is the Xerox product. And so we've started rolling that out. And you'll see it now. Actually, it's ingrained in City Council. So if you go online now and you want to look at bills and rezos and all of that stuff, it's all part of the DocuShare process that we're implementing. Because you can just well imagine the paper that government pushes. And we've developed our own in-house e-forms process that will eventually phase out, but it's pretty cool so that we can track a contract as it goes through the. Now, not everybody uses it because we're using our own internal for DIT, but it's the kind of thing that we're demonstrating, saying, hey, we should use this in all the other agencies. To get a contract approved, 14 steps. 14 steps. It should be 4. It goes back to one department 8 times. So why don't you just take care of it once? Why does it need to go through this? So there's lots of that. So I bounced around your question, but no, we have not. It's something that we certainly have to look at, and we're looking at it in different approaches. Other things we brought in is a blood pressure collection system, HPD automatic field reporting. The police cars now have about 2,000 laptops in the police cars now. And so when an accident happens, before they used to fill it out, write it, come back into the office, type it up on their computer, print it off, give it to the sergeant. Now what they do is they do it on the PC in the police car. We're building this wireless grid around the island. And so, and we use edge cards. We're a combination of edge cards with grant money we got from the federal government for Homeland Security monies. And so the police report, now the police officer's in the field an hour more a day, and the report is printed off when he comes in. And now we've worked out a way to accept electronic signatures. So now we're not even going to have to print that off. So now his sergeant's just going to be able to approve it and move it on. So this is the thing that we've got going out there. We're doing some testing with. Well, I'll tell you about that one in a second. Telephone savings. We went in there. We looked at the phone system. We saved $200,000 a year. I said to the guys, when was the last time someone checked to see how many lines have been abandoned? Oh, we've never checked. $200,000. We had lines that we were paying $200 a month for, hadn't been used in no one knows how long. Didn't know. We started converting a lot of OPX lines over to CenterNet for now, just because we can't get everybody up on voice over IP. I got 5 phone systems, 20 years old plus. So that's out there. PBX reconfig. We looked at our trunking. We went to bid. Was able to save another $60,000. These are real bucks. These are this is not money that I'm going to squander. We didn't spend it. 991, 911 database. I told you about that one. DIT savings. At the end of the year, I was coming up to the end of the fiscal year, and my staff started saying, "Hey, we got all this money. You better spend it." On what? Well, just get the stuff, because if we don't spend it, we're not going to get the money next year. I don't do that. And if you can justify why we can spend this on something, I'll spend it. But if you can't come in, and I said, and by the way, what is all this racks of stuff downstairs with dates on it, 2001? Routers and all kinds of stuff. Well, we're gonna get that implemented. I said, it's 2001. This is 5. It's already outdated technology. So I'm going to load up these racks with more stuff? I don't think so. So end of the fiscal year, I left $550,000 unspent. And I deallocated another $250,000 from previous years and said, I don't want the money. The other agencies, it's those that have been around in government for a long time, said, you're crazy. I said, no, this is my mantra. You wait when I sit in front of council and tell them, by the way, I gave you back $500,000. And don't penalize me this year for it. Because that's the thing. Well, and it's happening in budget right now. Well, you know what? You didn't spend the $550 last year. I said, go ahead. You just tell me who you want to sacrifice. I'll just sit there in front of council and tell them, hey, you know what? They cut it out because I decided to save it last year. And now I'm not going to be able to do this project. So, and that's life. So that's why I tell you, I'm not political, but so far, you know, things are working. We implemented P cards, purchasing card system. Anything under $2,000. Massive savings. We haven't been able to calculate the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're now saving. People can go out and purchase stuff and get it like this. We also made a change that didn't show up here within the budgeting process. You had to allocate your spending by quarter. So I would say, okay, I'm going to spend this much in this quarter, this much this much this. Well, in one of my cases, and I said, this is nuts, because that meant if I needed money in the first quarter on something that I was working on but didn't allocate it to the third quarter, I couldn't go on with the project. I had to put it on hold and wait for that quarter. But this is nuts. So I said, no, we got to come up. I talked to the managing director in the mayor's office and said, we got to do something different. I can't work like this. So they said, they cut a deal. They said, I tell you what, if you take another 2.5% off your budget, we'll allow you to move amongst quarters and up and down, even between line items, except in payroll. Deal. I signed it in a minute. So did about 90% of the other agencies. Because now I could start doing it. Perfect example. We're rolling out some voice over IP solution. I needed 10 new phones. And that was allocated in the fourth quarter. And they said, oh, and the staff hadn't gotten used to it. Oh, we can't put these phones in. I said, why? Well, it's 10 phones and the money's not the fourth quarter. I said, I can move it. Go get it. Really? Yeah. Boom. In. So they're thinking, well, this is the way this is the way business is supposed to be run. So those are some of the things that happen. Again, I'm watching my time. It says 9:40 on that clock. Is that about right? Okay. I keep my phone. I keep my watch ahead of schedule so that I'm never late. You know, like that really works. So then P cards, DMV. We did a master plan on DMV. Cisco interoperability early field trial. I'll talk to you about that one in a minute. And then the new driver's license I mentioned earlier. The CIP tracking. We put a new liquor licensing ID system in. We did that as well. I don't know how many of you know, lots of controversy going on with the Liquor Commission. Refuse accounts receivable. Here, no, put this one in. You know, look at where you can hit and run. We were like net 120 on getting paid on refuse. So like, your tipping fees, right? They go and they dump, but they wouldn't pay us for like 120 days. So we looked at the system and looked at the process, and with some changes and about 3 months worth of work, we now get paid within 30. And if they don't, we won't allow them to tip. They can't go to they get, oh, you guys are behind schedule on your. So this is all change the whole workflow within the refuse side. So start to get the money in further. I run every database known to man. IMS, DB2, SQL Server, Oracle, pick one, Access. I mean, almost every database. And we did an IMS upgrade, but that's not a big deal. But what we're doing right now, and this is intentional, and everybody's freaking out, including myself, is we're running back versions of CICS, back versions of IMS, and I'm talking maybe like 3, 4, 5 releases back. And I'm asking to get it all up, current supported releases. Well, it's that domino effect, right? Well, we don't know what impact it's going to have on the applications. But I said, well, you got to get it up here because we're going to replace this mainframe next year. We're going to lease a replacement, which will be newer technology. And the new stuff doesn't run this. The new stuff's going to run some open source. It's going to do a whole bunch of different things. We're going to look at this box from a whole different, because we can't replace it right away. So we better be there, because next year we're going to replace it, and at least you're not going to have the software, underlying infrastructure software issue. So that's all going to be done this year. Network infrastructure upgrade, I mentioned that. Active Directory, web services, we've done a bunch of stuff. In the wings, we got a major web redesign. We're hoping to roll that out. We have 200,000 web pages. It's all over the place. Yes?
Can you talk any more about open source databases? You said you're looking at it, just in general.
Yeah. What I'm trying to find is an application that I can identify and say, and I've been talking to Novell about some ideas and IBM and so on, say, okay, I want to find an application that we can pilot, if you will, that will be a home run, that will open up some eyes and say, okay, oh, wow, you did that in this period of time, and it's cost us how much? And so that's what I'm looking at. Because I figure once I get one of those in, then it's going to, the trickle-down effect. Because that's what we're proving now, is that, at least I'm learning, is that you get little things in, then it starts to work its way through the organization. So we're looking at options. What's the kind of thing I can do? And then it's kind of like, then I got to drag some employees screaming and kicking into it. And there's a lot of peer pressure about not doing it. So it's a lot of this inner working, like, if you go over there, then you're going to be blacklisted over here, and don't forget we're the B team and he's the A team. So, and I may bring in outside. I may just go, so you know what, I'm going to outsource X, and I'll just do the whole thing that way. So that's where we're at right now. We're in this, kind of identifying. We came up with a couple of ideas last night. We were sitting around, a couple of beers, and boy, I tell you, you can just come up with a whole bunch of things. Right, Don? Those kinds of things. So that's the approach that we're looking at. I need to find that small, visible home run application that the mayor can do a press release on. That's, the piece.
What size database would that home run application?
It wouldn't have to be that big. I mean, it could be, I'm looking at portion of driver's licensing. You see, driver's licensing motor vehicles, there is no canned packages. You're going to have to build something. We're going to have to build. We had a study done to do the evaluation and tell us what it was going to cost to do it. Both DMV and driver's licensing is about $25 million total to do those systems. And there isn't canned packages out there. You're going to have to take pieces of all kinds of different applications and pull them together. Maybe if I could find if I could pick one of those pieces and get a SWAT team together to work on it. So the American, and we can turn it on, right? It's in pilot, but by the way, you now, John Q. Public, have the ability to do X. So I'm open to ideas. So that's what the panel that we've got now of outside experts helping me with the governance of the applications. We're meeting for 2 hours this afternoon, as a matter of fact, 3 to 5, to kind of like brainstorm some ideas.
Open source literate?
Yep. Yeah, we have one guy in there who's definitely open source literate. Public safety. That's one of the major projects we worked on this year. Honolulu is the incubator city. This is an idea that I gave up to the mayor. I said, why don't we become the testing ground for new product? It helps stimulate, us as a more progressive city. At the same time, we might be able to get some cool applications from these guys that we can use. It'll, save us some money possibly. Lots of different things. He said, okay, go find one. So I did. And the one that I found was this interoperability issue with the 800 megahertz radios. Because 800 megahertz doesn't talk to VHF or UHF or vice versa. I can only talk to an 800 megahertz radio system. And so I said, okay, we'll take a look at that as something that we'll work on. So let me show you this. This is the island of Oahu. The orange lines are 800 megahertz microwave backbone for the police radio system. And we have these 25 towers, and wait till you see the pictures of these. We have these 25 towers that I inherited around the island. So let me give you an example of what happens if a police officer on the east side of the island wants to talk to someone downtown. He's in Waikai area. He gets on the microwave at Cocoa Head, which then goes over to Leahi Hospital, to the microstation, which then goes up to Round Top, which then goes down to Sand Island. By the way, when the boats come in, that link is broken because for 30 seconds while the chimneys go by, the stacks go by, then talks to the officer down there, and that's how they get to each other. Okay? So if any of these one link goes down, you're toast. Right? Now, we can go back the other way. It's going to be a lot. You got these latency issues and a whole bunch of other things that happen with it. But we're toast. This is the condition of these facilities. They haven't been touched in 25 years. Painted, maintained, or anything. Nothing. This footing is Cocoa Head. I could push the tower over. This is another facility. These trees that are not supposed to be there, thank goodness they are, because they're holding up that antenna that's falling down. They hadn't cut the grass in years. This building on your left, Since this picture was taken, this is in 2003, okay? I went back there in 2005. I toured every facility, went to every police roll call to find out what was going on with all the radios and everything. When I went back there, all the panels on the left are gone. They've all fallen off. Most of the stairs are missing to get up to do the maintenance. I kept telling these guys, and the one on the right, that tower is down. No matter which way you look at it, that tower is on the ground. I said, what is it for? We don't know. But it's fallen down. This is the grass around the facilities. Hadn't been cut in years. Look at this door. I had to pry the door open for the grass to get into it. This is public safety. This is the concept before this new administration of public safety. Now, my staff have done a phenomenal job in the past year getting this stuff cleaned up. Abandoned drums. We don't know what's in it. Backup generators, propane tank. There will be no vegetation within 10 feet of any propane facility. I don't think we quite made it here. When's the last time the generators were tested? Oh, they're tested because they're logged in. And right, someone goes up there every once in a while and tests the generators. But when was the last time the fuel was checked for how much is in there? Oh, I don't know about that. So, you know, all of these kinds of things. So we said, okay, we got to come up with, now there's $25 million in repairs need to be done to those facilities. Another $11 million in upgrades in the hardware, underlying upgrades to the hardware to bring it up to speed. So that's all underway. We've got to rebuild half of the sites. We got to build the towers, start and build them. And we have to do it because 800 megahertz is the underlying piece. But I'm sitting there going, but if 800 megahertz goes down, we are in trouble. Are there other solutions out there? And there's not a lot. There's new companies starting to get into it, or oil companies starting to get into it. And this is where the Cisco solution came along. Cisco, I went to Cisco and I was looking at, I was actually there to beat them up over, you know, I was very unhappy with some of the stuff. And during the discussion process, they had a 15-minute gap where they wanted to talk to us about this new technology that they were working on called iPix, which would allow any kind of communications device to talk to any other kind of communications device. So I could take an 800 megahertz radio and I could talk to a mobile phone, or I could talk to a PC, or I could talk to a regular plain old telephone, or I could talk to a voice over IP phone with this solution. And it was in the lab. I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. I can talk about it now because what we did is we struck a deal with them, became an early field trial city, and said we would commit the resources to start testing this product. We became one of 5 cities around the globe: Honolulu, Amsterdam, Singapore, New York, and Los Angeles, who all got to early field trial this product. And we did, so we brought the hardware over, we did some network changes, we inserted the hardware in there, and we started playing with it. And it was pretty cool stuff. I had all the agencies get together, like the state. Now think about it, I just talked about the city, right? 800 megahertz. The system that the state runs is different. The city that the Fed runs is different. So even across agencies, you can't talk to each other. That's not unique to Honolulu. That's a nationwide issue. So fire became one of the key players in all of this. And so we ended up testing this system. We did a number of trials. The last trial we did is we had a command vehicle, an emergency command vehicle, fire vehicle. We put the equipment in there. And from that, we were using PCs, push-to-talk phones, or not, voice-over IP phones with a push-to-talk capability programmed into it. PCs with this. This is an image of what the 800 megahertz radio looks like. So we had that capability. We used VHF. We used Nextel push-to-talk phones. And so we simulated an exercise. And we had police, fire, EMS, the mayor's office, all pretending that there was an incident going on. And we also did another unique thing called virtual talk groups. Remember I mentioned those 400 talk groups? We did some virtual talk group stuff where we were able to create talk groups on the fly. And within that virtual talk group capability, we could turn them on or off. So pretty cool stuff. Again, early field trial concept stuff. Can we or do we want to use this? And I don't see it as a replacement for 800 megahertz radio. I just see it as another alternative, another different piece that's laying on a different kind of technology, because I can run it on, I don't have to run it on 800 megahertz, right? I can run it on Wi-Fi, I can run it on whatever. It's basically a bridge, very sophisticated bridge. But we started looking at things that we could do later. We could overlay GIS on top of it and track, you know, and put GPS on it as well. You can start to track all kinds of different things down the road. And so we struck a deal with Cisco. We're going to be guys, the early field trial. Now we're building a new fire headquarters. And the new fire headquarters, fire have been great to work with because they never usually get the chance to be the new and get some of the new stuff. We're putting in a voice over IP solution in there, which they've never had. We're putting in total new access control system, IP-based, FIPS 201 compliant, new federally standard ID card, as best it can be because the Fed's still trying to figure out what it's supposed to be. But that's all integrated solution. Cameras, access controls, voice over IP, push to talk on 800 megahertz on their desktop from their phone, and push to talk on some of the PCs. So they can monitor. Now the chiefs can monitor. They have 5 major channels that they like to monitor. They have to have 5 radios to monitor them. Now from where they are, they don't even need the radio. They can just monitor it from their desk. So we're putting that in there. Again, early field trial, get this thing working. A police radio, 800 megahertz radio is $4,000, one. And I got like 7,000 of them. And every time you fix it, is at least $50 to $100 every time you touch it. And we're fixing these. You know, we have a radio shop at the police department, and fire have their own radio shop. I mean, this stuff, you know, it's mechanical. It breaks. The dials break, all kinds of stuff happen with it.
Is this BIFIX an open?
Yeah, it is. It is an open standard. And actually, if you go to the Cisco website, you go to the Cisco website and you go under /news, I believe it is. And then if you look in October the 24th, the mayor and I were in New York for a press conference where we announced, you know, the results of this. So we had the New Jersey Harbor Authority were there talking about how they were using it. We were there talking about our early field trial in the city. There's a video there that talks about it. Plus there's all kinds of information available to it. Now it's not a product yet. You can't buy it. But you will this year sometime. You will be able to buy the product. But it's been publicly announced, and so I can talk about it all I want. You can write some cool apps on top of it, yeah. And you know, it's new, and the challenge that I have, and I don't think it's unique to me, is that 800 megahertz people are evangelists. And I don't mean it negatively. They've been using it, and they understand that radio technology, and they've been using it for years. They are real hard pressed to move them off of that mindset. It's tough. To them, there is no other solution. It's good, it's reliable, that's why it's been around for 65 years. You bet. That's the Ericsson stuff. But when they turned it over to DIT, the DIT department got it up and running. Hasn't been down since we took it over.
What do you attribute that?
We put some talented people on it and looked at the infrastructure and got into the basics. You know, a lot of the problems were just configuration errors and things that hadn't spent time doing. Then you got to the next point, became training and education. I mean, the police officers were bending the antennas because they were poking them in the ears. And then the radio wouldn't work, and so they're blaming the system. There was also there's some dead spots. There still are some dead spots that we haven't got coverage on. We're looking at new places to put new antennas. Started upgrading the equipment. I mean, just lots of money going into that side. That stuff's not pretty either. It doesn't get you votes. I mean, it's not like trees down Kalakaua Avenue, right?
Is there any change in the 800 megahertz network? Is it now more mesh rather than just being a ring around?
No, it's still the ring. It's still the ring. Now we've got lots of we're doing a lot more backhauling, so you know, if this segment goes down, it takes alternate routes, puts all that infrastructure hardware's gone in to do that, and is going in to do that. All the facilities are maintained now. I have a grounds crew outside, we outsource it, go up there every month to all the different locations, cut all the grass, keep it all maintained and cleaned. So, and then we've got major construction going on a couple of sites, and more next year. And then we've got 800 megahertz rebanding. I don't know if you know about that, but we have to reband all of that. Federal government told Nextel, you got to move, because it's all this stuff that's going on and crashing and going on. So we got to reband the entire system. And Nextel has to pick up the tab. I think it's like $2 billion total. We're one of the early cities on the list, so we're the experiment city for this. It's going to cost millions of dollars. So, and it takes staff to do that. You still got to put resources on it. So all that's going to happen. So with that happening, I said I had to come up with something that allow us to start looking at other alternatives. You know, we're putting in our own wireless grid. We've started working with some outside vendors to look at how we can make more potential things available. out there, for not only for us, but for the public. Some pretty cool stuff. Public safety, I talked about identification system, access controls, monitoring systems, and so on. We're looking at that whole thing, looking with the various agencies and how we can start bringing them into the fold. We did some unique stuff. On the 800 megahertz stuff, we did some unique stuff with these free space optics that would allow us, across agencies, to talk to one another. It was a test. It works pretty good. So, I mean, we're still not abandoning it. We've got to continue down both parallel lines. Future incubator projects. We're working on one with Sprint, their EVDO card, which is their high-speed internet access card. One of the concepts was, hey, let's put it on the bus and provide it for free to anyone who takes the bus. Give them free high-speed internet access. So we put it on a bus and tested it. It worked pretty good. So now we're just getting ready to we're putting all the paperwork together to put it on a number of buses and run it for about 6-9 months. See if it does improve ridership. I don't know. But especially put it on like university routes or things like that, right? It's just, you know, and if it works, when we start looking at rail, make it an inherent part of rail. Just make it part of what we do with rail. So that's going on. We're working with the police department to put these cards in the police cars, because then they can get on the webcams, because they got the PCs. So now with this card, it's full streaming video. They can now look at the webcams before they go to an incident, if it's a traffic accident or whatever. So the concept being, hey, start looking at that. And I've had some meetings with some of the business people downtown and said, you know, would you pay for cameras and maintain them in around your area if the police officers were able to look at it from their cars on their way here or whatever? Yeah, in a minute. You know, like Chinatown and all those kinds of areas. So we're looking at ways, hey, maybe this is some ways of getting, you know, improving public safety and not having to pick up the cost, right? What about a bank? Put the camera, the bank's already got cameras. Get it on the network so we can get to it. If there's an incident going in the bank, we can actually see what's going on before we get there. Those kinds of things. Fire department doing the same thing. You know, right now if there's a fire somewhere out, you know, a brush fire or whatever, they've really got no visual. But we could start to look at, you know, they could take the emergency command vehicle, we could put cameras on it, use these wireless EVDO cards, transmit it back to civil defense. Well, wait, civil defense, we could possibly use there. No, we have 2 civil defense in this state. We have state civil defense and city civil defense. Ours is bigger than the state's because we got 80% of the population. So yeah, we have multiples of a lot of things. Open source application development, looking at other things. Oh, virus wireless initiatives. I brought all the wireless vendors together, invited as many as I could. 35 showed up, said, hey, we want to have wireless Honolulu, and I don't want the government to be in the business, and I know you don't want either. Can any of you come up with some ideas on how we can do this? How we can provide, because what we want to do with the city and county, we want to jump on it, we want to ride on it. And one of the things that we did, again, we're putting in our own wireless grid, but at the same time, I want to have a private sector one that I can jump on when portions of ours go down, you know, get this whole integrated solution. So I've got a whole bunch of things in the air with that going on, but one of the vendors, Skyway Broadband, came in with a unique one, and, and we liked it, and they said, what we want to do is we want to roll out all these hotspots, and we'll open them up to everybody for free, only if they go to government sites and tourism sites. Is it okay if we do that? Well, we can't stop you from getting to our website, but if you want to use it as your marketing edge, go for it. Knock your socks off. So we even did a little press announcement and said, hey, actually Don's company also jumped on it. He works for a office building company, the largest office building owner in the city. And so they're going to be rolling Skyway Broadband's wireless internet access out in their buildings. But guess what? Anyone that's in there is going to get free access to the government websites. And remember, I think more online and less inline? They can start doing business transactions at no charge. And I think when I talked to Skyway, they've got 40 hotspots now, and they're going to 125. So it's a way. It's not exactly the ultimate solution that I was looking for, but it's a unique one. And why not? And anyone can do it. It's just not, it's not sole source. It's not, if another vendor wants to do the same thing, we encourage them to do that. We're looking at franchising at the light poles. Good chance of money. The other one is a Honolulu ordinance that we helped get through. It was Bill 30. It's now Ordinance 05020. We now will make available to wireless carriers city facilities to put your antennas up for a fee. But we now open up 700 potential locations for you. Fire stations, police stations, parks. And we've got some unique, so we haven't even, and we've just finished getting the process all worked out to do it so we can fast track these things through. My goal is that when you come to us to go on a city facility, that not counting your building permit, you will be through the process in 30 days. So you'll know that you can go on our building and have all the permission to do that and then go get your building permit. Now that's another issue, it's not, but at least that's taken care of. And we have a standard template for contracts, we have a standard template for easements, licensing agreements, all of that stuff. We've worked it all out, and we've got the process all worked out. Just finished it. Took us a year to get this whole thing together. We've also identified all the locations. So it's kind of cool. So right now I have about, in the pipe, almost $9 million of potential revenue sources, and we haven't even started to advertise this yet. Now, it's $9 million over the terms of these deals. And a couple of the guys are coming in, or the vendors are coming in and saying, tell you what we'll do. We'll put in your comfort station, we'll build your bathrooms. We want a little building on the side of it. We'll build your bathrooms. We'll put in the light poles. We just put our antennas on the light poles. And we'll do that. Bring it on. Because all we'll do is we'll just amortize it over the course of the term of the deal. And guess what? We don't have to spend the money to put it in. They're going to maintain that bathrooms. I mean, that's, and it costs the city almost $1 million to build a bathroom that the vendor can do for $250,000. Because of all of our processes and stuff we go through. So we get it done cheaper. So I got 2 of those in the pipe. So cool stuff.
Does any of that allow for community wireless, for example, to be on those same locations?
Yeah. Co-location is encouraged. I mean, sometimes we might want to jump on it ourselves, but we're looking at mobile phones, we're looking at data, we're looking at anybody that wants to come anywhere. And we already have standard rate schedules, so you'll know what the fees are. Now, the only thing that we haven't got a rate schedule on yet, and we'll have hopefully in about a month, is on rights of easements, because there was no fee schedule for that. But we'll get that all straightened out, so you know exactly what it's going to cost before you even come in. Oh, to go here, it's going to cost us $24,000 a year. The vendor knows right up front, no mystery, and they can decide whether it's worth it for them to do it or not. So that's all been brought under DIT, and we're taking care of that. And I think I'm over my time. Oh, not bad. So that's kind of where we're at. I didn't cover near everything that I wanted to cover, but it gives you a sense of where we've come in the past year. Kind of exciting. It's the best job I've ever had, and I really mean it. It's a chance to make a difference. And thank you for your patience, questions, whatever.
You had an item on your slide there for open source application development.
That's that, looking for those home runs, trying to find those pieces that I can fit in. We've got a couple of small infrastructure pieces that have happened now because they had no choice. It's only in open source. So, but it's not, I'm looking more application specific. I mean, the stuff that's buried in the basement of the data center doesn't get you much visibility. It's that small home run application.
How can the public find out about opportunities for that?
This is it. I'm out talking and the Coconut Wireless, and, getting the word out, and, having people come and call and stop by, and hey, I answer my own phone when I'm there. I see at least a vendor a day. You could well imagine the number. I'm a very popular guy for obvious reasons, right? I'm a cash machine, and oh wow, there's some money there. But also we got to just, I've had Novell come in and give some presentations to some of my staff to get them just aware of what's out there. I encourage them to come to events like this. They came to this last year, and I noticed that there's no one here this year. So I'll get there. Yes.
Your web deployment, is it based on Cisco Call Manager?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Cisco Call Manager.
And you found it customizable in terms of running those applications?
Yeah, so far, I mean, what we've wanted to do with it. Now, we're not getting very sophisticated with this right now. I mean, we're essentially, the big thing is to make sure we've got reliable dial tone. One of the staff built an open source application that does the directory, so the directory's online on it now. We roll out, and again, the only department that had that system that last year was DIT. And then next year is, or this year is Fire with their headquarters. And then Halava, there's a base yard up in Halava for one of the equipment repair facilities. We're bringing them up on it. And then we have another office building which has about 200 and some odd phones in that building. And that system, when it dies, there are no parts available for it. So if they lose it, they've lost it. So we're going to roll it out there. But again, it's just basic. At this stage of the game, you know, with almost 9,000 handsets, it's going to take us years, and we'll slowly look at the pieces. I would say, just right now, if I count the fire headquarters, 200. Not many. We got infrastructure issues when we go into the buildings. We got just so many things to look at. And so it's a slow kind of approach.
Do you have any Centrics anywhere?
That's where all the parks departments, that's what we're doing now. We just to save that money, we took them off all these B1 lines, just flipped them to Centrics. I said, let's just do that because we can do it quickly. And that saved us $140,000. $140,000.
That's similar to the experience we had in Burlington and Manchester from Centrics.
Yeah. Yeah, so then now that's the next stage, right? You get this, you know, you get the first hit, and then you go back and say, okay, now how can we start? And we have our own fiber backbone around the city. It's very robust. It's got 2 gaps, maybe 3 gaps, and we're going to work on getting those replaced. So we end up with multiple redundant rings. And I'm thinking, okay, now, and a lot of it goes to the facilities, right? Boom. Next stage, after we get that done, we eliminate the Centrex piece. We just do it. As long as I put an IP address on it, we're there. So that'd be kind of the next phase.
The city's not going to be involved in the light pole wireless. The vendor chooses to put wireless in a light pole. Someone could put something up on the rooftop right next door and compete with it.
Sure. Yeah, we're not looking to prohibit it. But if you go to Waikiki, I mean, you just go down the street here. It's the wild, wild west of wireless down there, man. You get the Sheraton Hotel blasting out there, and they're knocking everybody over, you know, from here. You know, it's here to Sunday. I got this little cricket thing, and I go like, oh, look at them all. They're all just. Yeah, it's. Yeah, Peace Drive. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. So, and I asked the vendors if they could all get together and try to come up with a solution where they could work well. Would they play? No. They're not going to play well together.
Is there any, since you own 700 sites, that includes all the parks and all this good stuff, is there any sharing of infrastructure, for example, the electrical, generator?
No, right now the way we worked it out is that you're responsible for your own power. We'll agree to the location. You put your own power in there. As a matter of fact, the sharing we look at is can we use it. So, for example, we look and we say, gee, we got a dead spot here. We want to put a bidirectional amplifier up here for our microwaves. Then what we'll do is we'll talk to you and say, okay, if we go on this, then we'll cut you a deal on the rent, right? So that's kind of the reverse of that. So the thought being, we don't want to get into, okay, he touched this and this broke, one of the examples is that we had the police department in Wahiawa. This is before I was on board, but one of the carriers went up to them and said, "Hey, we'd like to put an antenna on right here in the back corner of the facility, and we'll pay rent, whatever." And the police said, "No, you're gonna impact our radio system." Okay, so they went somewhere else. Actually, they went to the Walmart site, put 3 flagpoles up there, put a cranking antenna up there, blew them out anyway. So we had to go, and then you have to sit and talk with them. And I said, the police, see, you said no, but if you sat down and talked with them, you wouldn't have had the problem. You would have known before while you were going up. So police have come around, they're going, that's not a bad idea. We know ahead of time. I said, yeah. And that way you're not calling me saying, the radios aren't working. Because that's what they did. Hey, the radios aren't working. Well, we had lots of problems. I got one last location. The state owns it. It's been down for years. I threatened them beyond, I went to the governor, and they are now fixing it. And I said, when you're finished fixing it, if it meets our standards, we'll take it over. You will? Yeah. The mayor said we can take it over. Then you won't have to worry about it. But you've got to build it to our standards. So they allocated the emergency funding to start doing it. So.
Do you have any collaboration between your city and county of Honolulu and the other counties and with the state as well?
Yeah, Actually, we have a number of things. And on some of the counties, we run their applications for them. Some of the tax applications we run, driver's licensing, motor vehicles, we run theirs for them. We don't get together as CIOs yet. That's on my list of things to do. I wanted to get 1 year under my belt and learn before I went out there and started preaching. So that's the next phase. Now we do have, on the state side, they have multiple CIOs, but they all report to DAGS, which is Russ Saito. And I joke a lot with Russ. And we get together now on a regular basis to see if there's some things that we could start looking at mutually to do. Again, because we run a lot of state applications. We run the juvenile justice system. It's a state application. What are we doing running that? But you know, those are things. But formally, no, nothing's really. I know the players. I've known them for years. I've been in Hawaii for almost 30. But they didn't think I'd last in government anyway. Most gave me 3 months. Not that I would be, not that I'd be fired. It's just I would be so frustrated I would bail. So, oh, like I said, it's the best job I've ever had. And see, and I don't, and I say this to everybody, and I think it drives me. I don't need this job. The money is certainly not why I'm there. I've made a hell of a lot more in the private sector, and so I don't have that. You know, I don't have to do that kowtowing down just because I don't want to lose my job. My fear is losing my job is that now I've got all this opportunity I have now to make this difference is going to go away. And so, but I just keep going forward and doing the best we can. You know, that's all we can do. Yes?
Have you looked at, or there are other government entities who are either have created their own applications and are releasing those to other governments who want to use them.
Yes, I have not looked yet, but we thought about it. The mayor, not the mayor, the CIO for the city and county of for the city of New York and I got together in October, and we've agreed that we're going to put the top 20 CIOs of the various cities around the country together, and start doing an annual meeting. So he and I are going to organize this one. I told him, "Why don't you do it in Honolulu, February?" Stimulate the tourism. Well, you know, that's too much of a boondoggle. It isn't going to work yet. So we're gonna do that, and then that's I see that as my, so that's one of my entrees, right? What's the intent here? See if we've got stuff we can start to trade with one another. We have done a couple things. I sent my staff, and I went on one of the trips to Sacramento to look at their voice over IP implementation because it's very similar to us. The staff had never gone to a site visit. 16 years this guy had been with the city. He said, none of us have ever gone to another city. No one. And so he built this tremendous, and he's a great guy, great employee. He's done a ton of stuff. And he's built this great relationship with the city of Sacramento people. They can't help but like the guy. They've sent him applications. They've sent him network infrastructure drawings, their user's guide, all kinds of stuff that we won't have to develop. And so this is cool. I got, next week, I've got 8 people touring 5 or 6 cities, looking at ERPs. Site visit. Site visit? Yeah. I'm not going to approve this project if you guys don't go look and talk to the guys that are running these systems. So they got all the questions lined up, their whole evaluation. I mean, really detailed scope of work that going, and they're off next week, all of them. I found the money. Why not? It's a $50 million solution, and we're going to spend $20,000 to make, you know, I said to the mayor, I said, is there anything wrong with this picture? $50 million, and I'm not going to spend, and you're not going to spend $20,000? He wasn't against it, you know. Just using him to leverage to make sure that they would allow the staff and the other departments to go. So that's it's. And then in October. I went to the Gartner conference, and they have a government segment. So I met with them. Yesterday I was on the phone talking with some people at Forrester Research, one of their government experts in open source. You know, he's talking to me about, you know, government deployments and open source and so on. So they're trying to get our business, so that's why they allowed me to talk to this guy for half an hour. So he gave me some interesting numbers. Obviously, the private sector is further ahead than government when it comes to open source.
Who did you talk to first? JP?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was JP.
Yeah. Okay, you got the smartest guy there.
Okay, cool. He had lots of numbers, man. So, so that was pretty good.
Who did you talk to? You were Gartner. Which Gartner was that? The October
Yeah, EXP.
That's why I put you looking there, I live in Florida,
Oh, okay.
I promise not to correct Mark Driver in mid-speech.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, so I met some other government people, other government players. But not, that's what I want to do this year. I want to get out more. Again, I wasn't about to go wandering off without getting my feet wet. I mean, now I can go at least and talk with some level of intelligence, I think. But I learn something new every day when I walk in that office. I found applications that no one told me we were working on, all being done under the table. So, you know, all those stuff's all getting disclosed.
Are you finding that on your staff, you've got people that are sort of crossing the aisle from the B team to play with?
I've got some. I've got some now that are starting to come over, and so it's great to see that kind of thing. The fear they have is that above them, there's going to be some repercussion when I'm gone. That's that, and I think there's some trepidation there because you know the senior people that are around have been around for a long time, and they've been essentially running the enterprise and doing a damn good job with no money, to be perfectly honest. So, but I'm a change. They've never seen anyone like me in there, and they've told me that no one's had experience in DIT, and so I don't beg. I don't beg the budget office. See, you're supposed to beg. I ain't begging. So. But they're coming over. I got, you know, like I said, a couple of people on the voice side. They're doing some phenomenal stuff. The network guys and girls are doing tremendous work. Customer service reps that I have out in all the different departments, 30 some odd of them, the majority of them, excellent, just excellent. So a couple of applications. I got 2 people now that are certified project PMPs. So that's 2 that are up there. That's 2 more than we had a year ago. And that's not an easy classification to get. I'm trying to get more to do that. So, yeah, they're coming. They're coming. They're good people. I mean, they just, and I can understand why they've been sensitive to what's going on around them.
Are your web applications written mainly using Microsoft?
Yeah, 100%.
100% Microsoft.
That's going to change.
Linux, Apache,
Yeah, that's all going to change.
Was that Courtney Herrick?
That was their choice. I know if I can't say if it was Courtney, it was administrations, and whoever gave down the marching order, that's what was followed. So, yes, sir.
Sorry, I missed your call. A couple of years ago, we were trying to put a demo, the Lord desktop, on Rod Dennis company, city company, Rod Dennis operation. And we were told not to, because I mean, you can put a desktop there, but it cannot be connected to the server.
You come and see me. It's a different ballgame. I'll give you my card.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, we're an incubator site now. We'll look. If you've got an application that interests us, we'll test it.
Yeah, the purpose of doing that is to show multi-resources.
Yeah. Bring. Yeah. One of the questions I have is why our website doesn't have Japanese and Chinese in it. I mean, that was one of the questions that I have. It should. Most definitely. And probably probably Korean. You know, as you know, from those sites. So we've got all those pieces to look at as well. I'd love to have that. Say, you know, the website's now multilingual and has this and this. Oof.
Not just website, but, you know,
Even the applications, yeah, even getting, yeah.
desktop, right?
Mhm. Right. Well, yeah, for years. Well, come and see us. We're a different ballgame now. So, and if any of you have any ideas, again, that open source piece, if you've got a particular application you think, you know, go to the City and County of Honolulu website and look at all the stuff we got out there and say, you know what, I think we might have something that fits in here. I had some students had some ideas for the bus that actually they had an idea on some bus stuff. And we went down, they toured the bus and thing and found out it didn't quite make it, but boy, it was close. So they went back to the drawing board and said they'd come back and see me later. So I said, hey, sure. So if you can help me come up with that home run application, boy, that'd be just terrific. We all win on that one. Well, again, thanks again. Great. I love the interaction. I got a few ideas from just talking with you all. See me around on the street. Stop by and say hi. And have a great 2006. It's going to be a super one, I can tell. All right. Thank you very much.